Hi, my name's Melody, one of the careers consultants in the Business School Careers team. This is my third academic year at the Business School, and I look after the MSc online programs this year. And I'm really happy that I'm recording this together with my colleague Catherine, who's in the Employer Relations team. And we're going to explain to you why we're doing this recording and what you can get from this session.
Sure. Hi, my name's Catherine and I'm the Consulting Sector Lead in the Employer Relations team. You may have seen me around or some of my fellow Employer Relations managers in any employer events that you've attended so far. So we're running this session today with the aim to provide you with the information and tips to make the most out of your virtual events this academic year. We're going to touch on professionalism, etiquette, and how to engage effectively online.
So tell me, what's your experience been, Catherine, of some of the online activities you've been hosting?
Yeah, sure. So I've delivered quite a few events over the last couple of weeks, and overall it's been great. The feedback from students and employers has been very positive, and we've been able to run events on various platforms and in various different formats that have had great engagement. However, running the events for the first time virtually has really highlighted a number of things that we want to share with students to make sure they're optimizing their time in these virtual events and really making the most of them. So today we're going to be touching on a couple of things that you can do before a fair or other virtual event, during the event and after the event. So this is across the board in both our careers consulting workshops and also the employer side events.
Yes. So as you've seen, we do have some workshops that are quite large, anything from 100 students to 250 students. And we also have sessions that are smaller groups, maybe 8 students in a small group practical session. So when you join these events, think about the setting, think about what you're hoping to get out of that. Obviously, with large groups, we don't expect everybody to put their cameras on unless you're going into small breakout discussions. Of course, you want to see the person you're talking to in the group. In a large session, you're probably muting your mic while the presenters are sharing their sort of content. If it's small group sessions, I always encourage students to put their mics on and to talk freely if they're comfortable with it. But I also recognise that for some of you, maybe you're not so comfortable with that being on camera. So you could certainly think about using the chat, but small group sessions, highly recommend to put your camera on. Something that's key to get ready for online sessions, you'll see that there's an event start time. So for example, 3:30 start workshop. We encourage you to log in at least 10 to 15 minutes before the session starts. That will give us enough time to check names over, allows you time to get your camera ready, think about what you're wearing if you're going to be on camera, and check your sound's working. So it's really important to give that lead in time. I definitely don't recommend joining any sessions late. Sometimes tech issues happen. Maybe you could message the host to explain that when you join. For some of the careers workshops, we really need to see your full name in your Zoom name when you register, and I don't know if it's the same for the employer relations side, but it's really to show that you're really present. Anything to add there about preparing for the online sessions?
Yes, I do have a couple of things to add from the employer side. So in regards to the name on Zoom, we actually share a format that we would like your name in when you enter events with employers, and this actually includes the abbreviation for your program, just so that employers know who they're speaking to, and can sort of customize the content to stuff that you're interested in. So that's very important that you adhere to that sort of template that we provide you in the joining instructions. Another thing from the employer side, to make the most of these virtual events, is that we recommend researching the companies and the roles that you're interested in so that you can optimize your contact time, whether it be in an employer-specific event or at the more broader virtual careers fair. Another hot tip that I did want to share today is, especially when we move into the virtual careers fairs, it's something that we would recommend doing is preparing perhaps a short bio or a short introduction of yourself that you can copy and paste when you're introducing yourself to new recruiters, so that it's nice and quick, obviously, but you've optimized that and you've really thought about how you want to describe yourself when you're first having that first contact with these companies and employers.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Catherine. And you can use your first introduction message that you use for LinkedIn reach outs, or maybe it's the first few lines of your cover letter that you're using. So very concise, very brief. Again, if you need help with that, of course, come and talk to one of us during a one-to-one or a drop-in. So we've covered what to do before joining our online sessions. Now we're going to move on to during the online interactions. I'm sure many of you have experienced all angles here, whether you've enjoyed a session, when you've not enjoyed it so much. So let's think about this a bit more. What have you noticed about camera use, Kat, in sessions?
Actually, interesting that you've asked that, because I did have a session over the last few days in which the session was really great. The presentation from the company was comprehensive and everyone was engaging in the chat, but not one single student had their video on. And it was somewhat disappointing, because these employers do engage with the Imperial to put on these events to really get to know our students and interact with them on a more intimate basis, so that they can get to know what roles are appropriate, etc. So having your video on is a crucial part of that, and something that I think we need to be more mindful of.
Yes, and think about what you're going to gain from that. It's nice talking to people when you can see them on camera. I think that goes back to being ready for it, we talked about earlier. I know a really big part of these sessions really work when students are present. So I've got a story as well to share. So running a workshop with students, and it involved breakout discussion. In the first half went well. Second half, we went back into the same groups, but sadly 3 or 4 students had vanished. Now, I understand if you have technical issues, you just let the host know, put a message in the chat. But to disappear in the session when other students are waiting for you in a breakout room, I think it's quite disrespectful. So same as you would do in a face-to-face workshop, you wouldn't walk away halfway through. So why would you walk away halfway through during an online session? So I would recommend closing all other applications so you're not distracted. You don't have social media postings, alerts going across your screen, and you really can focus on what you're discussing and listening to. The other thing you can do is show that you're following conversations. You can use the emojis, or you can use the chat box to type messages. All of our sessions have different setups, but some are not recorded. The ones that are recorded, the chat box is not kept, so you would not even see that. And we can always share your question anonymously if you would like, that's fine. In terms of using your mic, large sessions you probably mute most of the time, but if you're not a small group and we're doing a small group session on interview skills, you're asked to give feedback on your peers and your friends, and it's much better to have your camera on, your mic on, and you're really sort of involved in that and sharing comments. Otherwise it just doesn't work. So it's partly for your enjoyment, but also for your learning as well. So make sure that you really engage, interact. If you need to disappear or there's a tech problem, let the host know. Use the chat box. Sometimes in a small group, I've noticed it's quite nice when students put their hands up instead of putting the emoji hand. We don't mind how you do it, do we, Kat? We just want to see that you've got, you're listening, you've got a question, and you're interacting with us. And I think that's a really good way of making the most of the session. And if you're more shy, just use the chat box. If you're happy to use the mic, please do in small group sessions. Anything to add around sort of larger groups in terms of during virtual sessions?
Sure. I do have a couple of things to add that might be more pertinent to the employer side, but I just want to make sure, just like a traditional sort of in-person event, you really want to present yourself as a confident and competent job seeker, and body language is particularly important when you're engaging over video. So stay conscious of your body language, and really be mindful of it. So we've touched on wearing a professional outfit. It's also important to attend from a distraction-free environment and maintain, even through the instant messaging that you might be engaging in virtual fairs or perhaps in the chat function, to really maintain that clear professional business communication in your interactions. And I think that's all from the employer side.
Yeah, I think that in both events, the employer events and careers workshops, we talk a lot about the engagement and building rapport online. And something to think about is the position of your laptop. Maybe you help to put some books underneath your laptop to make sure the camera level is just comfortable for you, so that you're not looking up and you're not looking down at somebody. I think that really helps you as well, and get comfortable in the seating position as well. That's all that we have to share about during a virtual event. I'm sure you have some ideas and thoughts too. Please feel free to share that with us later. But now we're going to move on to what to do afterwards.
Sure. So one thing that we have mentioned already in a lot of the kickoff sessions is just that we really value your feedback, and it's important for you to help us help you by providing that feedback where it is requested of you, and letting us know what you liked and what you didn't like about a particular session, and how we can make it better for you and the employer moving forward. So that's particularly important. Another thing I would add is you've built the foundation for a relationship with an employer in an event or in your interaction during a careers fair, but you should pay attention to further develop that relationship, perhaps add them on LinkedIn if it's appropriate, send them a thank you email, and just continue forward with that networking and relationship based on your skills that you're going to build up in those networking sessions with our careers consultants.
Yes, and I think you can learn more about the networking. We've got lots of workshops and sessions to help you prepare for that. All it leaves us to really say is to think about where you are with this, what your comfort zones are. And I would encourage you to do something different. If you're somebody who's a bit more quieter, who's been more of a listener, try to be more proactive and try to join the conversations. Think about what impression you're leaving. A lot of you are going to go through some recruitment process during the year that needs virtual interviews or virtual presentations, virtual assessment center. So why don't you take some of our activities as a practice, to actually communicate online, to work in a group online, to share your thoughts and views on camera or on the mic. I encourage you to all try to do that so that you can enjoy the session more. So we look forward to seeing you at other events. Catherine will be posting messages as the rest of her team on the hub for employer events, and keep an eye on Simplicity. We do have a lot of information there. Make sure you complete the call sheet registration for some of our core careers workshops to show you've attended. And thank you for listening, and see you soon.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all our students in their interactions in virtual events. Thank you.
Thank you.